level there, but I did my O-levels, yeah.
Law and media, walk us through it. I mean, yes, you were the managing editor for, and also running Daily Statesman, doing so well, and then you got into law as well. How's that marriage like?
That marriage? Well, I was in the media before I went to do law.
Right.
But then I came to Ghana, and then when I was an editor, because I was also a lawyer at the same time, I think for me, those media, of course, is critical, and what should I say? Yesterday I was in Lagos and had a press briefing, and I was there with Gerhard Mensah,
right,
who is a member of the Africa Prosperity Network. He's a member of the board. And when we were addressing the media, we both said, yes, we were both editors and the rest of it. And, I enjoyed that aspect of you and I, tell them. How many years ago? 20 years ago?
20 years ago,
20
yes.
years ago, yes. What's that station?
Top Radio.
Top Radio, yes.
Correct.
Yes, I remember he came to me was Bolare and said, look, I've got this show, but I need you to be on the show. I need to make it.
As an editor, yes.
Yes. So I used to help him every morning, and then he moved on.
So you love the media?
Of course. I mean, you are still there.
Yes.
I'm still there, but
with Assassin Radio, which we'll talk about.
Different aspects, but I think the media is a powerful tool, and we know that. And I think it's how you use it responsibly, And I'm not saying that we get it right all the time.
Right.
I mean, the challenging thing of being an editor, you wake up in the morning, and then maybe somebody there's some error at front page, and you have to live with it because the paper has already been printed. But the thing about also the media is that everything that you do, you are likely to make one person or a group unhappy. And I think perhaps it is what has, instilled in me that strength that don't take criticism too hard or too harshly. Because when you write and you try to be objective, okay, it means you may even end up hurting your own friends sometimes. And then you'll be criticized because there's always somebody who is not happy. There's someone out there and who has a legitimate reason, as far as they are concerned, for being unhappy with you. But then you have to think, did I do the right thing? Did I tell the story right? So it's a difficult job. But
and for you don't care whose axe is God. You believe that you say it as it is without fear or favor. Is that what it is?
You have to care. You have to care, but you have to weigh. You have to weigh and say that, this person. I mean, when I was even at that time, the Statesman belonged to Akufo-Addo.
Right.
In my editorial, there's one time I even criticized him.
You did?
Yes.
How did the president back then he wasn't the president. How did he take your cousin?
Sometimes I will criticize some ministers, and then he will call me because he didn't know anything about it. He has absolutely no control. But then he will go to cabinet or wherever, and one of his colleagues will accost him. He said, but he's my friend, and I didn't know anything about this. Why? What is this? And then we will have an exchange, and then he will respect my editorial sort of integrity and independence, and let it go. But that was how challenging it was. So we came to some understanding, and initially I managed to convince Ken and Kelly, Ken Ofrata and Kelly Gajekpo, to buy the paper of Akufo-Addo. And then eventually they also sold it to me.
Wow! So you now own the Daily Statesman.
Yes, I've owned it for over 15 years.
15 years. Yeah. Interesting. Talking about President Akufo-Addo, I mean, yes, that's your cousin. Your mom. What is the relation?
My mom was Akufo-Addo's mom's younger sister.
Yeah. Okay, right. Get it. So your mom was President Akufo-Addo's younger sister. So your first cousin.
President Akufo-Addo's
his mother's,
President. Oh, who's president? Sorry,
Yeah.
Was the president the current president's mother's younger sister?
Younger sister.
Yeah.
Right. How's the president like? I mean, you get to meet him maybe once every week, or maybe twice, or even more. People are talking about reshuffle. I don't know whether you've had that discussion with him, and be candid with us. Ever gone to him to say, well, and people say, oh, maybe he's being stubborn. Do you share that opinion?
I don't play cards with him.
Yeah.
so, we'll never get to reshuffle.
Reshuffle. No, but I mean, we all know what we're talking about in terms of reshuffling of, appointees, government appointees. Ever had that discussion? Has it come up? What is your candid opinion on that, Gabby?
Akufo-Addo, look, he's one man that you can say prepared for the job, prepared himself for the job. It wasn't thrust upon him. He'd been there fighting for it, fighting for the country, has been there and prepared himself for it. And it didn't come to him on a silver platter, as you know. Okay? In 98, when he contested, he didn't win. He served. 2008, he was winning the first round, but he didn't win. He stayed the course. 2012, he ended up in court. He didn't win. He let go, contested again. So you could see that he prepared himself. So, and what I like about him is that he doesn't panic. The presidency is a lonely place. Go and ask John Mahama. He'll tell you.
It is.
It's a lonely place.
Really?
You are alone. Because the buck stops with you. And then you have all manner of people giving you all manner of opinions on how things must be done. You have to take the decision. Okay? All right? Let me just give you an example. First of all, Akufo-Addo believes more in the American system rather than the other systems, if you like. Because if America, for instance, when they choose a cabinet minister, he's likely to be there, or he or she is likely to be there for 4 years. Okay? So instinctively, he's not one that
will go in there.
Reshuffle as a tool, a power tool. Some people actually, the fact that I can change you, and he's not, he prefers stability. So that is him instinctively. There's also the issue of where the NPP is, especially in the second term. Okay? Now, when there was agitation from Parliament, okay?
Right.
You have majority of one. And whenever you take a person out of government, that person is even aggrieved. Okay? I'm just saying, I'm telling you how difficult a situation.
Yeah. But my question was on the reshuffle, whether you've had a discussion with him about it. Yeah.
I'm telling you,
I know you have
just
building a point.
There are so many issues that he has to deal with, because at the end of the day, he's given them assignments. Okay? He knows what he wants from them. Okay? You and I may see it differently. All right? And I believe that he's not completely against reshuffle, but he's slow to reshuffle for the sake of it.
Oh, he's slow to reshuffle.
There's no two ways about it.
Will you say he's stubborn to reshuffle?
He's stubborn to a fault, because for him, it's not okay. The cause, look, there was a time that we said in this country, let the blood flow. And the very people who said let the blood flow, later on they were criticizing Jerry Rawlings. Sometimes, yes, the populist cause may be legitimate, but you have to weigh. It's not all the time that you have to respond to the populist call. Because you know what you want from a particular individual.
So when that agitation came from Parliament for Ken Oforiatta to go, the finance
Yeah.
minister and all of
Yeah.
that. The president weighed the mood and how it's going to affect governance. Is that it?
I think he made his point clear that this is the situation that we're in. We go into IMF. And blah blah blah, and I think he made his case, and then they came around to it. You know, so it is not. I don't think that he's stubborn for the sake of it, but you know, he's a man of. When you're a man of conviction, sometimes, I mean, you shouldn't be quick to react to events. Okay, politically, it may cost you within a political cycle, but maybe posterity will judge you and will be on your side. You know, so, you know, and I've seen there's so many times that people will push him to do certain things. He will weigh it. And, you know, he's a lawyer. And lawyers, every good lawyer eventually will succumb to a superior argument. Every good lawyer. You know, so I think, and they will fight their corner. So you have to also convince them about the merit of what.
And that is the point where he is. Granted, people.
But I'm sure if he feels the need for a reshuffle,
he will.
He will do it. He's not against reshuffle, but he's slow to do it because he doesn't think I have to reshuffle because the minister has been there too long, or some people say I should reshuffle. Okay, he will weigh it, and then he will take a decision. And I think that, you know, if he feels there's a need to do it, he will do it.
People call you the prime minister. Ever heard of that? I mean, many have said that you wield some greater force, if you want, and that you are too powerful.
I'm not powerful. I may have influence, but I don't have any power.
So there's difference between power and influence.
Absolutely.
They don't go to hand.
Absolutely. You, Bolare.
Yeah.
You've come to me for a few things.
To get things done. But
How
you
many
couldn't
times?
help me.
Yes, sometimes I couldn't help you. And you know, you and I go back a long way.
That's right.
You know, so I have influence.
But you don't have that power.
A powerful person is one who takes decisions, who can make things happen. Someone with influence will try to persuade. But at the end of the day, okay, the responsibility is not with me.
And I tell you,
it's with the person who takes the decision.
When I brought those,
that's the person with the power.
When I brought those investors to you, I said, okay, we're all Ghanaians. Gabby, you could look at it how you can say, well, I'll try. I'll try and see it. But that was influence. You didn't have the power to make it happen.
But I connected you to where you have to go. At least that's the best. But you made a case. It's not because you came and said these are the people.
That's right.
And the influence that I have, maybe I managed to arrange a meeting for you to go and have a conversation.
So that's what it means. That is what people also say that, well, Gabby has shares in this company. He's into the oil business. He runs the Ministry of Energy of a point. When you hear some of these things and you say, well, you don't have the power to be in there, what is your relationship in there, especially with the AJAPA deal? Tell us today, Gabby.
You know, the was it? I think I bumped into John Mahama one day, and he was saying to me that I'm suffering what his brother was suffering.
Ibrahim Mahama.
Well, I didn't mention any names, you know. But you know I don't know. You know, I run everything. I don't even know where the cabinet office is. I know he's on the third floor. I've never been near it.
You've never been in a cabinet meeting?
No.
But there are rumors that sometimes you sit a cabinet.
I have no place there. And you know, sometimes when I go to visit my cousin, maybe around 11, you know the president? He leaves his office not earlier than midnight.
Midnight?
I'm telling you. He leaves his office normally after 1 a.m. Okay? So when I finish, and you know, when I finish work, I usually leave my office maybe after 10, maybe 11. Yeah? You know, and the people criticize you there, that time they are asleep. Okay? Leave my office, and then I'll go and visit him. Another time, we don't even talk about anything. It's just, you know, just Just talk, because they spend the whole day meeting people, talking business stuff. It's just because
You've never influenced the president. Okay, put this minister here. I want this person on this board. You don't do that?
Then I should have put you on the board.
Wow.
But the point yes, when you are close to someone, you can share your opinion with that person. And the person expects you to share your opinion with them if you have an opinion on something, and if they respect your opinion. But the final decision is what? Is the one who bears the card.
People said you were involved heavily in the ALJAZEERA deal. What is the truth?
But it's obvious my involvement in the ALJAZEERA deal.
Yeah, I mean, they said that you had shares, or it was a family and friends thing.
I'm saying,
what is the situation, Gabby?
But so why
no, we are on radio, and we want to know what the truth is, with all the rumors that are circulating, Gabby.
But I mean, but you know that my firm was contracted, and it wasn't the only law firm, okay? There are a lot of things that we do that doesn't become, controversial, because there are things that law firms do, and we do that all the time, okay? We worked on the document that eventually became the Minerals Income Investment Fund Act.
MIF.
Yes. We're contracted with 2 other law firms, and all worked on it, okay? How come the other lawyers from the other law firms, you are not accusing them of having shares in the Japan, but you are accusing me? No, I'm just saying. So it's as if, because, and I wasn't even contracted by government.
Oh, you weren't contracted by government?
I was contracted by a consultant that has, because they know the work you do within certain areas, and they ask people, and they ask you, and then you give an opinion on certain things, and I was contracted to do that for a consultant.
Not for government?
Not for government. But of course, the government paid the consultant, and we got paid. But my point is that our role in there was just to make sure they draft the laws, they draft the agreements along law firms, and that was the extent of our involvement. And how can any individual or entity own or have shares in an entity that was 100% owned by the government, okay, before the government takes it to London stock market to sell shares? So when they went to the London stock market, where was I? Was I at the London stock market waiting to buy my shares or to just take my shares?
So clearly with the Japan deal, you got it through not the government.
My point is that even assuming the government appointed me, you are talking about having shares in it, because I have a law firm, okay? All right? But it wasn't the government that appointed. But my point is that you are talking about shares. But government was going to float a percentage of the 100% it owns on the London stock market. How can that translate? Look, it happened, this Japan deal, or Minerals Income Investment Fund, had traveled through the majority side, and there were no issues about it. But when they decided to go and float some of it to raise money 4 or 5 months before elections, hey, we could raise 750 million just before elections. That's when it became controversial. The bill was passed, I believe, in 2018 or so, or 2019. Nobody thought it was controversial. And everything that they were doing were in accordance with the Act and the sections of the Act that was duly passed by Parliament.
When you heard such stories, how did you feel?
I just feel that the Japan thing kind of hurt me a bit.
Oh,
but I just, sort of, because really, for me, being associated with such an innovative approach to raising money and being part of the value chain of gold, for me, I thought that was good for my firm. And it's something that we were going to celebrate, that yes, we were part of the lawyers that drafted this thing. And today, that Minerals Income Investment Fund, it is owning shares in lithium and the rest of it. It is contributing to even this gold for oil thing. They are wonderful things that they are doing. So yes, I'm proud of my involvement in that.
But you don't have
But the
shares.
politics is I'm saying it was just the timing. when they were going to float the shares to raise money, that, of course,
blew it up.
yeah. And you know, you can have an opinion and say something is wrong, or let's not, you know, you are undervaluing it. But how do you don't value, when you go, the stock market now determine the value of the thing. That's how, you know,
that is it for ALJAZEERA, Gabby.
Yeah.
Let's move to PDS. What was your involvement with PDS?
You know, it was also one of the most painful things. And the reason being, the whole PDS thing was created even before this government came into office.
Oh, before the NPP got into office?
There were 5 companies that have been shortlisted before NPP came into office. The only difference was that under the previous government, they said Ghanaians can own 20%, and the foreigners can own 80%. Akufo-Addo thought, no way. This is a great asset of the country. It generates income all the time. Okay, you may bring some small money, but once you have it, you can even use the expected revenues to go and raise money. If we're going to privatize it and the government has agreed to it, I will let it go ahead if majority is Ghanaian owned. And I thought this was an amazing thing. Okay? If I had any involvement in ALJAZEERA, it's because my friend and neighbor, okay, all right, was part of an entity. And he used to come to me for advice.
Oh, your friend used to come to you for advice?
Absolutely. He's my friend and neighbor, next door.
So
next door. He came to me one day to tell me that he's part of this project. I had no idea. And I'm saying that, and he came to me for advice.
Did you charge him for it? Did you say, well, give me
He's
shares?
a friend and a neighbor. I didn't.
You didn't?
When he had issues and government was taking it away, yes, he had conversations with me that he felt he had to be compensated.
There's a WhatsApp, message circulating and audios and all of that.
Look, I would not want to even legitimize any of those things. Okay? What I do know is that when the president put together a JAPA thing, he wanted to ensure that majority stayed in
PDS, you mean? Yeah.
Yeah, PDS.
PDS, yeah.
Majority stayed in the hands of Ghanaians. Okay? All right? So, and it means, but if you're not careful, okay, when you have a situation where, okay, you want majority in Ghanaian hands, but if the individual Ghanaian entities are split all over the place, the foreign minority shareholder who was entitled to 49% can just pick Bola with 10%, and then at the board level overturn the philosophy behind the president or the intent.
51%.
Absolutely. Okay? So the advice I've given to the man, look, make sure that you all the Ghanaians in there do a JV in line with, and there's an advice I can give you as a friend. If you ask me for advice, I can give you advice so that you don't overstep the president's intention of it being majority Ghanaian owned. It is, and as a lawyer, as a corporate lawyer, I do a lot of mergers and acquisition. I understand. So if you come to me, even for free advice, I can give you a good advice. If you come to me and you say that, okay, it looks like they are collapsing it, and that you think you should be compensated,
yeah.
And you say some numbers, 60 or 40.
So that's what your friend told you?
No, I'm just saying, if you come to me and you say so, I could say, yes, I can take the message along. You want me to go and tell someone because you are my friend and I know them? I can take it. I say, okay, what can I say? I can go and tell them.
Did you tell them?
No,
that is what your friend is saying.
saying.
No, because at the point.
Please, I don't want to, please. If you're going to focus on these things, propaganda things.
No, it's not about the propaganda. I'm just talking about the veracity of it in terms of the fraud issue on it,
Let
Gabby.
me tell you.
Yes.
The fraud thing had something to do with the insurance.
And that's what I want you to speak to.
What is it going to do with me?
Because it's all part of the PDS issue. So
but I was not a shareholder of PDS.
Your friend was in there that you advised. Yeah.
You, the same way you come to me for help. A friend comes to me for help, and I know him. I play football with this guy. He's my next door.
Right.
And he's come to me for help, and if I can help him, I shouldn't.
I'm not saying you shouldn't.
And
I'm
I
saying
shouldn't
that-
do it legislatively.
I'm saying that with the fraud associated with it, which
No,
occasioned
no,
for the vitiation of the contract.
Yes.
Because I came to you on two things.
No, but I'm saying
about
I'm
Unibank,
saying- I'm
about
saying,
investors.
By the
yes.
time my friend came to me,
Right.
okay, all right, for advice, for this, for blah blah blah, okay, was there a case of fraud?
There wasn't. But that's what we want to know
I'm
the
just
story of
saying
how
that-
it ended,
But if I had shares in it,
which you've debunked.
no, how could I have shares in it? You had nothing. Then everybody I help, like you, I have shares in your entity. Then that's what it is. If that's the case, then we shouldn't help anyone or even attempt to help people. If you help someone and it goes wrong, then it means you were part of it.
If it goes,
Something that eventually was awarded by government with the support of the American government. And if somebody comes for me for advice and I'm advising him, I was wrong. And if I had interest in it, okay, when it was the president who took a decision that even though you say that the damage done can be fixed, because that's what the Americans were insisting, I feel that this thing, I can't give that state asset to them because of this insurance document.
so that's what you said.
I'm just saying. So if the president could take that decision, even when those bring in the money, and he took that decision against some 250 million, 150 million that we're supposed to get. So the president, this is a person that I'm supposed to have influence in, assuming I have shares in PDS. And then everybody thought, oh, whatever fault it is, it can be fixed. Then the president says, no, I still want to kill it and let the state control it. Then it means I didn't influence the president.
How did you break the news?
let's
I mean, we'll
move on.
get,
I mean,
we'll
I'm just
move
saying
on.
that it's, you know,
Now
it's
you've
some of-
clarified the
No,
issue,
my point is
and that's
that
what I wanted to
it's,
get from you.
I try not to, you know, I always
Don't be
felt that
emotional.
I'm not emotional.
Okay.
I always felt that I will wait until this
The writer.
government is over.
Oh,
and I
before
will
you talk
speak.
about it.
Yes, because, you know, whatever you say now, people won't. And, you know, let me tell you something.
Go ahead, Gabby.
There are a lot of people that don't have access to the president. But the president knows them, their contribution, their support, blah, blah, blah. So people like me, they will come to me. And I'm not the only one. There's so many of us. They will come to you, and then you try to help where you can, okay? Or try to convince them to understand the situation. That's what we do. And that's what I'm talking about influence. If you're in a position of influence, that's the burden that you have. And if you shut your door completely, they will say, acquire the Okodru baby or do there.
Right.
What did I make?
I get
you.
you.
So sometimes you entertain. And then if they have a legitimate cause and you feel you can assist, then you assist legitimately.
So does that get you worried? And now I just want you to,
No, it
just
doesn't,
soak
you know,
yourself into it, that
I
you help
think-
people or you
Yeah.
try to help. Because I remember
yes.
when the Unibank issue came, I came to you, I was knocking on your door, I was doing this, calling.
absolutely.
And at the point you even got worried that, oh, I can help my friend to get into this.
Absolutely.
So does it get worried when they call you names and they feel that, oh, you are doing this for something or there's an interest involved?
When you came to me to talk about Unibank, did you offer me anything?
Clearly not.
No. And was I not even touched by the fact that
Yeah.
I could not give you the kind of assistance that you wanted? It's that simple. That's what it is. Because, you know, it's a small country. You know people. And when they are in difficulties and they think that you're in a place where you can help, do you turn your back on them? You don't. But at the end of the day, I'm not a decision maker.
You can only but put a word through.
Absolutely.
What do you make of the banking crisis, sincerely, and all that happened with the cleanup?
You know, it's for me, it's painful. And I think even those who took that decision was painful for them. Yes. I mean, look, we spent 25.6 billion, whether in bonds or cash or whatever, of government funds, taxpayers' funds, that had not been budgeted for to do that exercise. But you know, there are two things that we keep forgetting. By 2016, the government then had passed a law, okay, whether under the influence of the IMF, because it was part of the IMF conditionalities. Go and look at it. Okay, so this government inherited a situation that really, backed by the new law, because whoever would have won the elections in 2017, by that law they passed in 2016, would have had no room but to implement some of the things that they did.
So it was painful for those who did.
And for me, yes, when I speak to some of them, it was painful because they knew them individually. I mean, look, I sit down with Kwabena
Dufo.
Yes.
Yeah.
The big man himself.
Yes, Dr. Kwabena Dufo, yes.
And I feel pained by the situation he got himself into.
Wow.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, the man works to this point. and my own interaction with those who had to take the decision, they didn't do it lightly. They didn't do it lightly. I mean, how, you know, but it's really, these are some of the challenges of governance. I'm telling you. Okay? I'm telling you, because I was in a situation where I've been there when the president was informed as to what the situation was and what had to be done.
Wow. Oh, you were there that day?
No, I mean, I was there not at the time, but after. I mean, before the decision was taken, but I got to see him. And I could see the pain. You know, I could feel the pain. And after that, he didn't have to do what he did and said that, no, we have to protect every depositor. He didn't have to do it because there was no law compelling the government to do it. So it was a painful exercise.
We'll go for a short break, but I want to know, are you friends with John Mahama?
John?
Yes.
Oh, I would say that John is a friend.
He's a friend?
I would say that, yes. And I've known John for years. Yes. You know, it was when he became president that I thought I should give him the space. You know? But and I like John as a person. You know, not necessarily as my president.
But you like John Mahama?
Yes, as a person. I mean, and he's a good soul. Yeah, he's a friend. And, you know, we still text now and then.
Oh, you still text now and then?
Yeah. John is a... No, I should still respect President John Mahama.
President John Mahama.
Yes. You know, once a president.
Always a president. Yeah. And you have so much respect for him.
Well, he's a friend.
Right.
You know, and for me, he's a nice person. You know,
we'll be going for a short break.
Not necessarily nice as my president, but...
So when you meet up with him, certainly you start a conversation.
No. And I have, you know, and he's been there. And we all knew John even before he became president.
Right.
You know, lovely person. You know, he was not too political. Even, you know, where he stood politically. You know, he was willing to, you know.
He's an easygoing guy, isn't he?
Yes, he was. You know?
But he still is.
When you climb there, it's a lonely place.
Lonely place
It's a lonely place. I mean, if you remember the sort of stuff they said about him when he was president.
Yeah.
The sort of stuff they're saying about Kwadwosheldon. Yeah, so it's a lonely place.
When you say that, I can see that you're coming from a place of information that you know that while there, it gets lonely.
It is a lonely place.
Wow.
Trust me, because there are people, and you know, sometimes when people are even advising you, you need to wait because, does he have an interest that he's pushing? You know?
Right.
You need to, and sometimes you have to take a decision. Yes, but the decision is based on also the information you get. So those who are advising you, those who are appointed to, you know, you are trusted that they will give you the right information for you to take the right decision.
How's your relationship with Vice President Bawumia?
Oh, excellent. Yes, excellent. Yes.
You know him very well, even before he came into the party. And
oh, you know, he had an interesting nickname. I hope he still doesn't have that nickname.
Which one is that?
They used to call him "Good to see you."
That's Vice President Bawumia's nickname. Good to see you.
Yes, the party people will go and see you. They come, Papa Doko now say, "Good to see you." Almost. and you know, but for me, it spoke of his integrity. Okay, he didn't involve himself on anything that, you know, when you go there, he'll just throw money at you. You know, so you have a conversation with you and they say, good to you. But But party people there, when you go and see them, they expect you to
do like something.
So he had but I hope by now.
Yeah. When we come back,
but it's still good to see him. I love seeing him.
When we come back after the break on Vice President Bawumia, and then we get into what you're doing APN. We don't have time.
And you've
in
kept
30
me.
minutes.
You've kept me into politics.
Don't worry.
And
it's all part of it
I'm
for you
trying
to
move
away from politics.
Move on.
We respect that.
You can't move away from politics.
We'll come back to that. But clearly, just to talk about some issues before we delve into other things that you have. Get to meet your family, what your interests are, and all of that, and some interesting stuff as well. And we'll talk about the Ghana game that is coming up, later on tonight. But it's right here on Star Chat.
Happy.
Yes, but they want a lot of the questions answered. Yeah, so we will extend the time to 7:40 because we've got to hit hard. So forgive me, I'm asking the questions and we need the answers. It's nothing personal. It's nothing, So we're good.
I think my last interview must have been 3 years ago.
3 years ago. Yeah. So no, I know you are warming up. So you just. But, I'm not here to hang you or do anything. Kevin Taylor says that I'm being easy on you.
Please.
Why? You don't want to hear his name.
Focus on. Let's focus on the campaign.
He says hi.
Let's focus on
on the interview.
And he owes me money.
Kevin Taylor.
Yes.
Really?
Yes. There's a libel case against him, and he posted a check on Facebook. Yeah. Interesting.
We'll get into that. But let's talk about MTN. Well, do you know that MTN Momo now has an Unibank? Okay, so he said it, so don't worry. Now you know. They wanted to know, they thought it was something else. Maybe I wanted you to get me to a position for maybe becoming a minister or something else. Glad it's not anyway, so it's clarified that. But still on the Bawumia one, Ama wants to know, was he happy when Bawumia was brought in as a running mate with Nana Akufo-Addo? People see him as an outsider, and Ama sent you this one, Gabby.
Was I happy?
Yeah.
Of course I was. Yes. I was very happy.
Did you play a role in Bawumia getting into or onto that ticket?
A little.
A little? We'd like to hear that story. What did you do?
I think let's move on.
Oh, no. Gabby, it's not about this moving on. But did you play a role, though? I mean, quickly.
A little, yeah.
Ah.
Yeah, a little.
When you say a little, did you bring him in or something?
No. Just played a little.
I know you want to be, very charitable and all of that. With that, I grant that, and why not? And
it's been an amazing revelation.
Okay.
As far as I'm concerned, it's he's been the most active vice president that we've seen in our country, the most active. Because the thing with the position of being a vice president is that it is at the discretion of the president to empower you. And he has, in the little space that, and I say little space because every space has a minister. You know what I mean? And that's the position of vice president. I mean, it can be miserable if you're not careful. Okay? Because, yes, you may chair EMT.
Right.
But the decisions are taken at the ministerial level. The ministers sign the documents, the contracts.
So, okay.
You vice president, you don't sign any contract. Okay? EMT is just where you discuss and then you give direction.
But you can't override that of the minister?
How do you, you're vice president.
No, but you're chairman of the EMT.
Yeah, but I'm saying, chairman of the EMT is more like an advisory role. Decisions are not taken at EMT, okay? It's an advisory role. The advice can go to cabinet. Cabinet may agree to it or not. But really, it's a place that gets all other sectors to think together so that you put people together so that they don't work in silos.
Then it doesn't make the vice president that powerful there, because if you advise and it's not taken,
yes. But that's the point I'm making, that is of course an advisory role.
Yeah.
It has no constitutional role.
So his hands are tied?
No, ministers take decisions. The president takes decisions. The vice president advises unless he's given a particular assignment. So that's what I'm saying, that the limited space that he has, he has offered solutions to the problems that he seeks to tackle. And I think that's what makes him unique as a vice president, because he knows that he can't be everywhere. But then he picks a couple of things like the digitalization. And these are critical things. We talk about corruption in this country. If you don't find a way to reduce the human interventions in governance in many areas, it's difficult to fight it. Okay? All right? And he's been pushing this agenda in a very big way. Because really, where the world is going is about digital economy. And fortunately for us in this country and on our continent, we are so in tune with the digital economy. In Ghana, let me give you some stats. By 2016, only 20% had access to internet. The last time I checked, I think 2022 or so, it was 68%. And I've seen a lot of people in your production room.
Right.
All of you have access to internet. Is that not? 68% from 20% in 2016 to 2024. What does that tell you? It means that there's space in the digital economy. Whatever you want to do, the digital economy is there. You know, and I think that for me, he has shown that he has conviction, he has a vision, and what is important in politics is also integrity. Whatever you may say about him, there hasn't been even a speck of a corruption allegation against him.
Well, is you in the seat, so I don't want to...
I'm making a point. I'm making a point.
Right.
Yes, we've had vice presidents in this country before, okay? But my point is that, for me, the most important thing is that he picks, he has created a space for himself. The president has given him the latitude to also operate in that space, and those things that he has focused on, he has delivered on them. Okay.
Talking about digital economy, it will push me into, the 4.0, industrial age and 24-hour economy. Do you laud President Mahama for that? 24 hours. What are your thoughts on that?
I thought it was interesting that here you had government pushing for industrialization, for a way to somehow reduce imports and to somehow spur on local production, okay? Because a 24-hour economy is already happening, okay? But it's more limited to the entertainment zone. You get me? And it happens. I mean, so long as you have infrastructure, so long as you don't have doomsday, you can have a 24-hour economy because the lights are on, okay? But in industrialized countries, you have factories operating 24 hours. And how will factories operate 24 hours? When there's demand, okay? And how do we create the incentives for our factories, for people to invest first in our factories, and for our factories to be open 24 hours? Because you open 24, there's a factory, Central Ceramics. They're open 24 hours. You know why? Because they are supplying not just to Ghana, but to the West African
So you think that there's no demand for us to...
I'm making a point.
Why?
I'm making a point. You have to make your economy competitive. So I was a bit bemused when 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks before that, I was hearing 24-hour economy. Everybody's excited about it. And then Parliament was against a policy that would reduce our dependency on imports and spare on domestic production. And the minority were celebrating it. I thought, what a country. But anyway,
So you feel 24-hour economy is a fantastic idea?
My point is, it is not about who can be against your economy being alive all the time. But you need certain things to be in place. One, you must keep the power on. Two, there must be demand for the things that they will be producing. But how do you have demand for productivity or production, okay, when your economy is inundated by imported goods? So those are the things that we have to watch. Okay? And I'll give you an example. I think that on 1D, 1F, okay, which created or supported at least 167 factories, and is the biggest in the history of this country. Let's not forget that. And even more importantly, those are private sector-led manufacturing entities, not state-owned, because we've had bad experience with that. Now, I think over 546 million cedis were invested in it through, I believe, Exim Bank. At the same time, that's why I'm not a socialist, we've spent 2.4 billion on NAPCO, okay? All right? Yes, NAPCO created jobs for 100,000 students, temporary jobs. Eventually, they were all sucked, or most of them were sucked into other areas, okay? But that was 2.4 billion for 100,000. The 500-odd million that you've spent on 1D, 1F, it has created 140,000 jobs. You know, so really, it is important to invest in areas that will spare productivity, okay? Rather than just always tackling unemployment, I mean, throwing money at unemployment.
Right.
How do you increase productivity?
Let's move on. Let's move on that. And I want your assessment on the OSP. Kisia Jaben. Is it true? Because I got a text from Ni Ama Asma who says that, is it true, Bola? Ask Gabby that Kisia Jaben turned down the offer and the president had to come in, or Gabby had to come in? Is it true?
I think for me the most important thing is that he is in office.
Right.
Okay? It's a new office. It's a challenging office. It's a challenging job. Okay? I just feel that the country should support the person who is there.
Okay.
Because the vision behind it was great, in a sense that let's have an independent prosecutor. Okay? And give him or the office the resources to do the work. They may not get it right all the time. And sometimes I think the criticism is too much.
You think they're overtly criticizing him?
I think sometimes too his communications is also a bit too much. I mean, just focus on the job and don't get too excited about communication. And you know, I mean, I think whoever is in charge of communication, they should be a bit mature with their communication. But I think that he has a difficult job to do, but he may not get it right all the time, because you are testing the law in several areas. Okay? Yes. And if you don't get it right, don't blame the system. Change your tactic and find a way to get your way, because it's important he gets his way. But how he gets his way must be the right way. You know, so I think that we shouldn't be too critical of the office. I think the office is set up for a good reason, and it has a good job to do. You know, we have Freedom of Information Act. It's important. We never had it before. So there are a lot of things that have been put in place that can assist the fight against corruption. And I think that we should all support that.
We should all support that, indeed.
Yeah.
Well, we put out a flyer that people should send in questions and all of that. But I'm also, it's quite interesting, if I should put it, how your name is mentioned in almost, you know, whether it's a ministry, whether it's a person. Now we're talking about football, and your good friend Chris Hilton will come up. Word has it that he's your friend.